What is up there, guys? This is Cobb, and welcome to a very, very basic Destruction Warlock talent guide for Legion PvP. Now, this might change once we get to level 110. I don't think it'll change that drastically unless case ball damage is, you know, substantially buffed, or maybe the cast times are manipulated or something like that, unless there are like some really, you know, significant changes going into Legion at level 110. I think that the spec is still going to be fairly staple. I'm not quite sure about 3v3 arenas. In 2v2s, Battlegrounds, most likely duels as well, although I haven't tested it. Probably duels as well. I'd say this is a go-to spec. Yeah, at least for the time being. I can't actually unpick my talents, it seems. It would have been nice to have like a blank slate and like go through one at a time. It would add some suspense or whatever, you know, but fuck it. That's the talent build right there. Let's just go through each tier and talk about why I've taken, you know, each respective talent. Talk about how they synergize together, and all the rest of it. So on the first tier we have Backdraft, Roaring Blaze, and Shadowburn. So Backdraft, for some reason, it's no longer a passive to the Destruction spec. It's going to take a while to get over that one, but moving past that, you all know what Backdraft is, right? Conflagrate reduces the cast time of Incinerate and Chaos Bolt by 30% for 5 seconds. So straight away, Backdraft is basically for a Chaos Bolt spec. As long as Chaos Bolt is weak and isn't worth casting, because 2 Shadowburns basically does the same amount of damage as a Chaos Bolt. Pretty much. So as long as Chaos Bolt isn't worth casting, Backdraft is basically never really going to be in contention. One idea I was toying with going Backdraft was spec into Backdraft and go like an Incinerate spam kind of spec. And the reason for that would be the Destruction Warlock artifact weapon. Grants you like a 10% chance. I think it's, honestly, it was around 15% chance on landing an Incinerate to reset a cooldown or one of the charges of your dimensional rifts. Sounds really, really good, right? Well, it got nerfed from 15% to like fucking 6% or some shit. Something really, really bad in the beta, so I'd love to have this talent back as a passive. But honestly, there's just no way it's going to stack up to Shadowburn. Roaring Blaze as well. It was a fucking 60% damage buff. Conflagrate increases your remaining immolate damage on the target by 60% until immolate expires or is refreshed. It was nerfed, allegedly on the patch notes, it said nerfed from 50% down to 25%. It wasn't 50%, alright? It was 60% down to 25%. Roaring Blaze, poor bastard, alright? Shadowburn all the way. It's been 2 Shadowburns, costs the same amount of soul shards, and does basically the same amount of damage as a Chaos Bolt. The only difference is that it's instant cast. Why would you ever fucking, you know, cast a Chaos Bolt over a Shadowburn with the current damage scaling? I don't know. I played PvP at level 110 as well on the Legion beta, and the Chaos Bolt damage did not appear to scale then either, so it's something that they have to fix now. It's something that they actually have to fix on the live version of the game, so we'll see if they tune up Chaos Bolt, but for now, honestly, Shadowburn, it's just no contest at all. At least for PvP, again, of course. Reverse Entropy is the same as Backdraft, really. Reduces the cast time of Chaos Bolt and Rain of Fire by 0.5 seconds, and they restore 35% of your maximum mana. Maybe this implies that a Chaos Bolt spec is better for PvE, but honestly, again, 0.5 seconds off your Chaos Bolt, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It doesn't really matter that much. Needless to say, if you go Backdraft, then you probably want to go Reverse Entropy anyway, just to, you know, get that synergy, get them quick cast Chaos Bolts off, but right now it's just not worth it. Cataclysm, I've been giving a good run out when I'm running, because when I try and, you know, record 2v1s, whatever, in Battlegrounds, and I'm soloing in Battlegrounds, I always go Grimoire of Service and Succubus, and then combine that with Cataclysm, so you can get like a Pet Seduce into Cataclysm opener, and then the rest of the spec is basically the same. But I think overall the best talent has got to be Mana Tap. How long? What's the duration? Yeah, it's still 20 seconds. 25% of your current mana to grant a 10% increased damage. Damage buff for 20 seconds. It's a maintenance buff. It's really, really boring, but honestly, just trying to maintain it at least like 80% of the time, and try and keep tabs on it, and it is probably worth it. It is probably worth it. But Cataclysm is also decent if you're playing like a Succubus spec in Battlegrounds. But Mana Tap all the way there. Level 45 tier, one of the saddest tiers ever. Did Mortal Coil always only have a 20-yard range? I swear it used to be 30-yard range. It feels like it has the range of like a toe poke. So poor Mortal Coil. I don't know. It's still good for Destro because we have Havoc, but meh. Everything just pales in comparison to Demon Skin, but we'll get to that in a second. Shadow Fury has a cast time. I mean, why? What the fuck were they thinking, alright? Poor Shadow Fury. You're better off just using your goddamn Infernal Stun instead of trying to get this shit off while you're getting trucked off melees, you know. So, fuck it. Demon Skin is just extremely good. Your Soul Leech Absorption now passively recharges at a rate of 1% of your max health every 1 second, and may now absorb up to 20% of your maximum health. It's just extremely good. It's what makes us tanks right now. The reason I'm so sad about this tier is that, you know, I miss going things like Shadow Fury and having passive backdraft and having the mobility and the instant stuns and being able to, you know, duck and weave around a little bit rather than just being a big lump of lard, you know, a big potato who just kind of sits there and soaks up damage while spamming Shadowburns, if you know what I mean. But there it is. This isn't the most fun spec by any means. I think that this is just the most effective right now. I want to throw that out there. Eradication. Chaos Bolt increases the damage you deal to the target by 12% for 6 seconds. Not even that great, even if Chaos Bolt was the spec of choice. I just don't think that this talent's that fantastic. PvE maybe, I don't know. Fire and Brimstone. Incinerate now hits all enemies near your target. Purely PvE. Incinerate damage is just way too low to be considered impactful at all in PvP right now. So even in Raider Battlegrounds, I can't see this being used. Soul Harvest, basically Dark Soul. Fairly cut and dry tier there. Demonic Circle. I'm upset about life right now. I just don't even want to look at it. Let's not talk about it, alright? Because Dark Pact is so much better. Burning Rush. Just gonna fucking ignore it. And I'm just going to pretend that they pruned that. Why didn't they prune it? Why didn't they just prune it, man? Just, honestly. It feels like a running joke at this point, but whatever, man. Burning Rush still exists, just ignore it. Dark Pact. Extremely good. It was always really good. I think Soul Link was just generally a little bit better when Soul Link existed in the talents. Which is also gone, unfortunately, but sacrifice 20% of your demon's current health to shield you for full 100% of the sacrificed health. Let me just do that right now, my Fell Hunter. So if you're running like a service spec, which might happen in arenas, because the spell lock is just extremely important. Use it right now. This is also out of arena combat, so I think that the pets have a little less health. And maybe like around 130k shield, which is around what? I think it's a shield for around like 20% of your max health, or something like that. Only 1 minute cooldown, usable wild stun, pretty good. Main reason you go Dark Pact though, is because Grimoire of Sacrifice is still extremely good for destruction, even though you lose the spell lock. Because the idea is, you use this shit in Battlegrounds, extremely good. The spell lock isn't quite as important in Battlegrounds. Same thing for most duels, but even if you're dueling against a caster, or if you're queuing 2v2s, you can still use Sacrifice to extremely, you know, awesome impact, because all you do is this shit. 2v2 games last like, what, a minute and a half? 2 minutes maybe, something like that. Gates open, oh, blah, 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 blah. That's just like communication with my teammate right there, alright? So I'm just like PV and idiots like that. See, I focus target the dude on the end over there. This is the healer, alright? Oh no, I can't spell lock him. For some reason it says that he's friendly. Oh, it's healing. Okay, I see. Alright, fuck it. Focus target this guy then. He's about to cast something, I go, meh. Spell lock the shit out of him, and then sacrifice the fucking pet, alright? And if possible, I want to hold Dark Pact, or Sacrificial Pact, until I sacrifice the pet, because then it sacrifices my own health, which gives us a much bigger shield, for example. I mean, it's almost triple the size if you sacrifice your own health while you're on full HP. I just think that it's so fucking worth it. And most of the time, in most 2v2 games, you're only going to have time to spell lock like one dude, like one time. So I mean, if you just like spell lock them really early on in the game, then sack the pet. I just think that's so worth it in 2v2s. Grimoire Sacrifice combined with Dark Pact is also extremely good in BGs, like I said as well. So I think it's still really strong, but like I said, Grimoire Service probably going to be the go-to. I want to say maybe Supremacy, but I prefer Service personally, but one of the pet Grimoires might just be better in something like 3v3s, or if you're playing 2v2s with a healer. And now in the last tier, one that is much more hotly debated, I guess. A lot of people really like Wreak Havoc. Havoc now lasts 20 seconds and has no cooldown. So you can essentially constantly have a target fucking Havoc. So, say this dude's fucking Havoc. For an entire 20-second period, you're able to just spam out double Shadowburns like this. And all the fucking rest of it, you know? And then as soon as it expires, after 20 long fucking seconds, you just reapply it again. So you're basically constantly DPSing 2 targets at the same time. This might be better actually in 3v3 arenas. Wreak Havoc. Just having this constantly on the 2 DPS. Or if you're playing with like a rogue, you could even just leave it on a healer. Or like swap it onto a healer, like if all of your CCs are DR'd, you know, you feed him to DR, your rogue is, you know, stunned him on the off chance that you might be able to get a kill off of it. It didn't come through. Just apply Havoc on the healer and just fucking keep on tunneling damage. And the amount of cleave damage that you can get off with this is pretty obscene. But I think a more standard pickup would have to be Soul Conduit. Every soul shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. I mean, if you've got like 3 soul shards and you mash out 3 Shadowburns, you can quite easily just get bonus Shadowburns from that, is what I'm getting at. It's a very, very, it's a hard one to judge, actually, Soul Conduit, but I think that generally, on average, it's better than Wreak Havoc in most situations. I want to say that very, very, very tentatively, because I think in arenas, Wreak Havoc might be a little better. But it's fucking really, really hard to say. I'm just going to play with Soul Conduit for the time being, because in Battlegrounds, I'm 1v1ing a lot, I'm 1v2ing a lot, and I think in that situation, just the regular Havoc and going with Soul Conduit suffices just fine. But in arenas, Wreak Havoc might be the go-to. But that's that. That is basically a very, very basic overview of the talent build that I'm going, that I've seen a lot of people going, and I hope I explained it decently well as well, you know, why you should be going these certain picks, and like I say, I might end up making a new one of these within, you know, a few weeks. Legion might come out. It's not unheard of for Blizzard to release a very, very early patch and a new expansion, just completely shaking everything up and tuning all the damage numbers. I mean, fucking hell, in a patch I'd like to see some of the actual talents get changed around, but I don't think that shit's going to happen. So I think that the talent tree is going to look exactly the same in Legion, but we might be going backdraft, reverse entry, eradication, and more of like a case ball themed spec, but we'll see about that shit. Oh, I might as well just leave the spec open, fuck it. There's the spec that I'm using right now, the Shadowburn spec. Boring as all shit, but very, very, very fucking effective, and you can quite easily be finishing top on damage in basically every single battleground that you play using this spec, so there it is for all wondering. And I can see I've been recording for nearly 14 minutes now. Brilliant, beautiful. Another video that I said would be quick, that's just dragged on and on and on, so I'm going to shut the fuck up. Thank you guys for watching one more time. Have an awesome day now, everyone. I'm going to catch all of you guys just a tad bit later. I'm going to do this, the Maelstrom, right? The Shield Sister a bunch. That is so sick!